With the addition of the Audio Device Revelation home theater chairs to the Techthusiasm home theater, I took the occasion to finally do another whole rerun of my Anthem ARC Calibration room EQ in the space here and make a couple of specific audio tweaks to kind of maximize and recalibrate and reset with the big changeover from the couch to the chairs. So in this video, I kind of wanted to talk about that, some of the ramifications of making changes to your rooms. I want to go through my actual ARC settings and show some of the tweaks that I've made actually in terms of adjustments and things that I'm changing or doing in the ARC config relative to maybe some of the things that I had said or done in my earlier ARC content. So right off the bat, again, I think when you make a major change to your room, like changing your entire seating configuration, it gives you the perfect opportunity to do a reset. These chairs sit and present in the space much different than the couch did. We've got higher profiles. We've got splits between some of the arms of the chairs here. I'm actually sitting a little closer to my screen now as well. The visual distance or the viewing distance from my eyes sitting nominally in the seat to the screen itself are, I think, more than a foot closer than I was before. So quite a few things are different. I have stuck with the idea of taking the two subwoofers that I have currently and splitting them out. I had prior videos on that, how I was getting basically better room response from having one sub in the front left corner and one sub in the back left corner versus having them both up front. So I kept that the same way. Now that I've really locked down the seating and I know that I am sitting in this middle seat, this captain seat, this main seat of the theater, I finally took the opportunity to kind of direct and tow in all of the speakers. So behind the screen, the LCRs are pointed now, the center channel pretty much directly at me, sitting here middle of the room. I've got the left, coming by my left. I've got the right coming by my right. I adjusted all four surround, both sides and both rear surround speaker positions. Again, kind of pointing more or less kind of down and crossing across the seat. And then, of course, lastly, I did even adjust the rounds above. These are, of course, all the Focal 1000 series in walls. So instead of everything shooting kind of straight down as I hit them, now the fronts are angled in a little bit, and the tops or rears effectively are also angled a bit as well. So quite a bit of change. Again, majorly acoustically changing the effects of the room by having the different seating config, and all of these different speaker directional positioning adjustments really necessitated running a new ARC config. One of the virtues, I think, of having done the seating this way, the 5 seats, and having the main center one is, of course, I've got a very defined now main listening position. It's dead center. It's right here, perfectly positioned. Instead of versus when I was considering doing 4 chairs, my main seat would have been a little bit off and kind of not worked out the same way. So in terms of ARC, I did choose to stick to the default configuration of 5 positions, and I pretty much basically followed the recommendations in ARC Genesis tool itself in terms of microphone positioning. So of course, seat 1, main listening position, is right here, right in space where my head and ears would be in the center seat. Positions 2 and 3 are basically the main listening positions in the seats to my left and my right. Offhand, I don't remember specifically whether, according to the numbering sequence of Genesis itself, if they tell you to go left first versus right first, but I followed what the tool said. And so these 3 seats had their proper main listening positions, head positions as those first 3 positions. And then the next 2 were kind of in the bubble, again, around this main seat. One of them kind of back and to the left here, up in the air a little bit, and one kind of down and to the right in front of this seat, creating that kind of immersive 5-position, 3-seat bubble with a focus around this space. And I did take the occasion when I was at Audio Device Live to talk to some of the folks from Anthem as well and get some guidance on what does it really mean for those secondary positions for your microphone. And this conforms, I think, exactly with the feedback and some of the information that I was given there. Of course, for doing the speaker delay calculations and for the phase steps later on in the tool, the microphone was back here in this main center seat as well. All right, so here we are in ARC Genesis. I am running the latest version available at the time of this recording, of course, version 1.74. Looking at the measurement configuration, of course, I have a 7.2.4 system set up with front in ceilings for the height 1 location, back in ceilings for height 2, There is no height 3. I did only one measurement. I only have a need for one measurement in my configuration here. And as mentioned, 5 positions. I have all the appropriate speakers turned on, 2 subwoofers, and using a laser measuring device, came up with the idea that I'm about 12 feet 4 inches from that front left speaker to basically my listening position, my eyes here. And again, that's about a foot closer than I was before. So if we go through some of kind of the adjusted ARC settings, note as well, I'm pretty much just running one profile. I haven't really felt a need, or at the moment for this specific configuration, to run multiple profiles, although that is, I think, one of the more powerful aspects, capabilities available in Anthem ARC. I don't have a need. I did debate the idea of, well, I could do like a 7-point measurement where I end up with a main listening position, measurement location in each respective seat across the row of 5, and then finish it out with a back high, front low bubble around the main seat. And I could switch between that if we've got more people in the theater versus less. And I just didn't feel that to be super necessary. I think in terms of how we use the room, the number of people that we usually have in here, I just opted for this right now. I think I need to do a little of my own sitting in those farther positions with some content. Sit over there relative to sitting here, sit in the far right and the far left, and get an idea, okay, is there a degradation? Is there a problem with the acoustics or the audio over in those seats? Or, are they reasonably fine for the guests and stuff that would be sitting in them, and instead wanting to keep kind of the bubble of measurement and calculation tighter around this main position. So as it is, one profile, but I would be able to, in the future, do a second set of measurements, run those measurements on multiple profiles, and go from there. Of course, because I'm doing one profile, one measurement, all of my speakers and both subwoofers are enabled there. So we can see here some of the results that I'm getting out of ARC. These are pretty consistent with, honestly, the measurements and some of the results that I was getting in my prior configurations before changing the seating, and even kind of before the toe-ins. Some of the peaks and valleys in the locations where they're at are consistent with where they were before. Some of the severity of them maybe has altered a little bit, but in some areas as well, I think there has been a little bit of like a leveling out in between also. So of course, the front left, center, and front right in my room are the Focal IW LCR6 1000 series. ARC is giving them basically all a boost, essentially, and they all kind of exhibit that high rise and that 2K dip for each of those front positions. The surrounds get a little smoother naturally, which is nice. I wish the fronts kind of measured and presented as well as the surrounds did, kind of naturally. We can get an idea there. The rear surrounds, back left, back right, again, real nice and flat. I wish the fronts were putting out the same kind of natural levels as those surrounds, those IW6s. The heights have some challenges, as we can see. They have some real big dips, some knolls as we get higher above 2K there, but pretty flat in the lower regions and up to that point. And then, of course, the subwoofers. I think the chairs maybe impacted the response of the subwoofers a little more than the speakers themselves, given that particularly the chairs may be absorbing more energy, and the chairs are more in the way, particularly of the subwoofers that are in the back, but they're still effectively doing very close to what they were doing before. The two opposite positions, again, kind of covering for each other. I get this 50 hertz-ish kind of null that I don't get in the rear, and so again, they're working better in concert with each other. So if I look at the targets, some adjustments that I've made, in my room, I have generally ran, and I think continue to prefer the idea of having a bump in the room game and having a bit of a higher bass level that kind of proceeds down or tilts downward later there. So I am adding some room gain here in Anthem ARC, adding just a smidge as well of deep bass boost, although I took my tilts out. So in the past, I had been running a higher frequency tilt, and there's a couple reasons for that. When we look at some of the response curves, I didn't think it was really doing a whole lot, and so why add extra load to the corrections and the filters and everything that's being ran? I'd opted this time, you know what, I'm going to try it. Let's basically just leave it out. So on all of the speakers, I didn't touch any crossovers from what ARC calculated and set them. I didn't touch any high frequency roll-offs or anything like that. One tweak that I did do, and I've continued to kind of carry over from prior Genesis configurations, is that I do increase the maximum correction frequency, but I'm only doing it for the LCRs. And a reason for that is they're behind an acoustically transparent screen. In my understanding, and what has seemed to generally work pretty well to date, is you want to take the correction a little higher, as that helps kind of adjust for, compensate for any impacts that the sound coming through the screen material may be imparting. But I didn't take these all the way out to 20K. I did decide ultimately to halt them at about 12. And if we look at where the kind of the target curve versus the actuals of these are falling, we can note, again, all of these front speakers, the fronts up here, front left and right, they have kind of the dip in the 2K region that, hopefully Genesis is able to boost that up, bring some of that back to level that off. Then we go up above in about this maybe 3-ish K up to about 12-ish K region, having ARC Genesis kind of flatten that out, back down again. And after that, the speakers just naturally fall off. So right here, right at this intersection point, right, the speakers are just naturally doing their thing. They go down pretty heavy up to around, was that maybe about 16K. They come back a little bit as well. So I figured, why bother with the tilt, and why bother correcting past this point? There's really no reason for it, just to bump up these super higher frequencies. At that point, just let the speakers do what they're going to do. And again, still take it out though to the 12, just in case that helps to improve any of the impact that sending that sound through the screen may be imparting. And the center channel is the same as the fronts. We got similar types of responses, similar highs, similar nulls, and again, a reasonable cutoff intersection here, right around 12K, where it's just like past that point. Don't waste any processing power of the Anthem. Just let the speaker do what the speaker is going to do. For the rest of them, I just left them the way they were. Maximum correction frequency, about 5K. In this case, the side surrounds are kind of rising up and going a little high, but again, they're not behind any type of acoustically transparent screen. And these speakers are all pretty flat up to those very high frequencies anyway, so happy to kind of just let them go. The heights, of course, they come back and intersect up at the target line, up around 5K, so just leaving them correcting up to that level seemed pretty reasonable, and beyond that, again, just let the speaker do what the speaker is going to do. And then last couple of plots there, again, the subwoofers, subwoofer 1, subwoofer 2, really basically pushing these things a little bit for the space. Of course, one of the things that I really, really want to do in here, hopefully still in this calendar year, is get up to 4 subwoofers. More on that coming soon. So at the end of the day here, if we look at some of the final corrected values, it's presenting pretty flat. If this is a real representation of what's happening in room, I'm pretty happy overall with what ARC Genesis proclaims it's able to accomplish. These speakers are kind of doing their thing, following the target curve. They're being able to be adjusted, again, to a pretty flat response, and then past those upper frequencies, the speakers are going to do what the speakers are going to do. And my fear would be too many points, trying to go too wide, correcting for all of the seats and the entire width of the room would create a more challenging situation for the calibration results and the amount of corrections and such that it may need to be doing in the space. So I'm going to stick with this for the time being, and we'll see what changes further come to the Techthusiasm theater and where we go from this point. So that is as an overview, a look at some of the acoustical changes, effects, calibrations, and tweaks and adjustments that I've been making in the room here, again, as a result of the couch to chair transition. A couple of other maybe interesting things to note with regards to the ARC results. It did set all of my speakers according to its results to an 80 hertz crossover, except the front in ceiling Atmos positions. It did set those to a 90, which is interesting. I thought in the past with the couch, I was getting 80 across the board. For whatever reason now, it felt 90 was the right number. Just leaving that kind of as it is. And of course, you do want to run the automatic phase adjustments, phase measurements of ARC Genesis after all of your default configuration is complete and uploaded and all of that. I did do that, And my subwoofer number 1, which is the subwoofer in the front left corner of the room, was adjusted to a 165-degree phase. And the subwoofer in the back, subwoofer number 2, was adjusted to 15 degrees, both of them normal, neither one inverted. Sound off in the comments. Let me know if you've got some Anthem gear. What kind of curve are you working towards? What kind of adjustments and tweaks maybe do you make in your configuration? Do you like? Do you think I'm making any mistakes here? Is there something else that I should have tweaked? Maybe did I tweak something that I shouldn't have? But I think what I'm running now is pretty balanced, pretty accurate. The measurement structure and all of that based on what I've been told, what I've learned, and the experience of having had the Anthem products in the space for coming close to a couple years now. Again, I'm super happy with the Anthem stuff. The only thing I could really ask for is maybe someday, who knows, sooner than later, to take a step from that AVM 70 to an AVM 90 and get a full set of 4 subwoofers put to work here in the room. Thanks so much for watching. Of course, if you'd like to support the channel, you find this video helpful, you can leave super thanks, you can leave PayPal and Venmo tips, you can shop with a variety of my affiliates like Audio Advice and Amazon. Or if you need some home theater help, I offer consulting sessions, and I've got some really great friends in this business, in this niche, in this industry that I can refer you to for help, equipment, gear, advice, and all of that. Otherwise, please do all that regular YouTube stuff, like, subscribe, hit the bell, share the video, leave those comments, let's talk, and come on back for more home theater discussion and fun.